Okay, good evening. Thank you for your patience. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. When you come up to speak, please step up to the microphone. You guys all know the drill. State your name for the record so we can get it on. If you could turn off your cell phones. Also, Nick, if I hear your cell phone, I'm throwing you out. Got it. All right. We're going to go in order. We're going to start with a postponement and continuation from November 13th. This is calendar number 25-2024. The application of Patricia Ayudo, did I say that correctly? Thank you, Ayudo, at 223 Middlesex Road. If you want to approach. This is to allow the alteration of a sunroom and a construction of a second and attic story addition.
Good evening, Board. I'm Todd Forcelina, the owner of Blitz Architectural Design Services, the firm that is doing the plans. I don't know if you need him. That's Jonathan Jacobson, my lead designer on the project, and of course, Mrs. Patricia Ayudo, owner of 223 Middlesex. I'm going to have Jonathan do a lot of the presentation since he is the lead designer on the project, if that's okay with you.
Sounds great.
Okay.
And Patricia, you don't have to stand up there if you want to sit, and then if you want to get up and say something, feel free to do that. Okay.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi. I was stumbling around. I was looking for my cell phone, and hopefully I left it in the car. So
State your name again if you could.
Yeah, please.
You said
Jonathan Jacobson.
Jonathan Jacobson. Thank
Yes.
you.
Do you have visuals, the PDFs to pull up here?
You
I
do.
can-
Anything you submitted, we all have printed off, or we are looking at it digitally.
Okay. So I'll just refer it here.
Yes.
Okay. The reason for the variance request is we're looking to do an addition which will impact side setbacks on both the left and right side. The existing, well, the property is just a 50-foot lot, which is quite narrow. The house currently is non-conforming on both, actually on both sides. 15-foot setback, it's roughly a little more than 3.5 feet on the right and 9.3 feet on the left. So what we're looking to do is we want to maintain the existing footprint, so we don't extend beyond, again, the footprint of the existing structure. But what we are planning to do is on the left-hand side, which is the side where the driveway is taking the existing sunroom, which is going to be somewhat modified, and adding a second story above. If you turn to page A200, and it'd be the first drawing, it'd be drawing number 4, the front elevation. There's a shaded area on the second floor on the upper left side. That's the portion that is new construction, which is within the existing setback.
So you're saying this drawing is proposed, that's within the
It's
setback?
this drawing over here. That
Oh,
drawing over
okay,
there
I'm sorry.
was not prepared by us, but that shows the complete build-out,
Okay.
but not necessarily what's within the setback.
Because we're going to want to know what you're trying to do in the setback.
Exactly, so if you
okay.
refer to the drawing A200,
Okay. Let me guess. Yeah, okay.
and it'd be the drawing on the upper left,
Okay.
that's drawing number 4. That shows what's within the setback. So, looking at it in elevation, the shaded area on the left-hand side, that's on the second story only. That's the portion that's within the setback on the left side of the property.
See, to me, it looks like you're going right over the existing porch, which is
We are.
already,
We are.
Correct,
okay.
yes. So what I did with this was only highlighted the areas which are new construction within the setback as opposed to, just to keep it clearer rather than showing the existing portion within the setback.
yeah, I think that is a better view. Okay, okay.
On the same drawing, it's a little bit harder to see, but on the right-hand side, there's a very small section of the roof, which is also now going to be encroaching within the setback. We're raising the roof up by a little about 2.2 feet to get a little more headroom on the attic floor, and that will impact that side setback slightly. So that shaded area shows which portion is within the setback.
So the shaded area is the added volume
Correct,
that
Yes.
is why you're here.
correct.
And Jonathan, are you looking for a height variance on this?
No,
Okay.
no,
You're just showing us that you are increasing the height. Okay.
correct. Now, jumping to page A100, which is the floor plans, proposed floor plans. On the first floor, which is the drawing on the lower left, drawing number 1, nothing is shaded because even though it's within the setback, those are the existing. So we are doing some modifications, but we're not requesting any additional encroachment on the first floor. If you look at the drawing directly above that, the second floor, that's where you see an area shaded on the left-hand side. That's the portion of it that you saw on the elevation, and that's that slot going back, which is now within the setback. Nothing is shown on the right-hand side because we haven't gotten up to that roof level yet where the encroachment would be. So if you jump up to the drawing on the bottom right is the attic floor plan, drawing number 3, and that will show the shaded area on both sides. Now, they look sort of equal in terms of just looking at it in plan, but on the right-hand side, again, that's just a very small segment of the roof, which is within the setback. It's not really adding livable or other usable volume.
What's going on in the attic now?
The attic has a staircase access, which is quite narrow and steep. And there are spaces up there, but they're not particularly accessible. The head height, I think, reaches about 7'3" at the peak, and then it has the roof pitch coming down.
So it's not really usable space, right?
It's not very usable now.
And will it be when you finish doing this?
When
You're
we
saying-
finish this, it will become usable space.
But
So
all
you're right.
staying within the allowances and
Yeah.
requirements of that level floor.
Right.
Yeah.
And the main reason, again, for increasing the height of the ridge was to be able to get, the needed heights in the room and still stay within the code requirements.
Can I ask fundamental questions here?
Sure.
I understand what you're trying to do on the second floor. You've got 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, and you want to make it 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and increase the size of one of the bedrooms, make it more of a primary bedroom. But what's the hardship here that suggests that we should grant this variance, and why is this the minimum adjustment necessary to address the hardship?
It's because of the narrowness of the lot. It's only a 50-foot wide lot.
What are
so
the lots around it?
They're also 50 feet.
That's a problem for you.
Well, the house just to the left, which is 221 Middlesex, is going up 2 stories, and it's 3.8 feet from the property line. So that, I guess, had been given a variance back in a while ago.
1959, or,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was quite a while back.
so
Yeah.
that's substantially closer to the property line and has the same volume extended vertically that we're
But
proposing.
I don't think legally that justifies a variance
Well,
for your property. You have to demonstrate that your property has a hardship and that it's unique in the neighborhood.
the
And
other,
desire is not,
you have someone.
having something that you desire,
Mhm.
that doesn't justify a variance.
Well, the aspect of, as well of the rooms and their sizes, we have someone who's a growing family, she's expecting in May. We're just trying to make it where it
Is
becomes.
there any other area in the buildable lot that you can add
Well,
within space?
the thing is the issue is, there's no sense in like going out, let's say in the back, because I know there was a question that arose on what the letters were sent out, is there an opportunity to go in the back? The thing is that there's no use in increasing the first floor and impervious space on the building. If that had to take place, you're literally having to go through and redo their kitchen area and everything else. All we're doing in that sunroom is converting it from a sunroom, which stays within the existing footprint, to be an area of the living room and the dining room, just an extension of what's there.
So that's
It's
fine.
the second floor that really is the issue for them and the family. So what we're trying to do is the best of both worlds, is not make it something where we're encroaching anywhere else on the property, quite frankly, on this piece of property, because it is completely non-conforming. If we went out back at all, they lose their backyard, a huge portion of it. And again, there's no reason for us to increase any of the footprint of this building whatsoever if we could just stay above the existing sunroom space and do what they need to do for their family. And then as far as, the attic space, they have a child coming, you know, and they're just trying to gain an additional room.
Yeah, and to follow along with the space in the back, the amount of backyard, there's an existing garage in the back, so there's only a limited amount of space. Estimate probably about 35 feet from the back of the house to the garage. So if you extend out further, you create a very awkward condition in the back of the lot. So you can't build in the front, it's very restricted in the back.
Is the garage staying? You're not proposing taking that down
No.
as a trade-off?
No,
No.
so you're
What's-
restricted
How many
front.
square feet is the existing house, and how many square feet would the new house be?
I think it's on the survey.
Let me just check on the survey. Gives the area square footage, I'm not sure if he gives the,
Not the lot, the house.
You have the, letter K, it's in there.
I do have,
I didn't say, sorry.
Actually, you have to come up if you want to talk. I know you're trying to be helpful, but here.
yeah.
I believe it should be in the item K. It's about 1472 right now, I want to say.
And 18E.
Okay.
And still within the allowed.
See, as you can imagine, people come in front of us all the time and they say, here's the hardship, I have this little house.
Yeah,
What we say to people is, then you gotta move to a bigger house. I mean, if you bought this house under the guise that you could expand upon it and never investigated this, that puts us in a tough spot. We're here to protect the neighbors, to keep things small, to move things further in compliance, not further out of compliance. So what Gary's asking is like, you gotta come up with a reason why this house, as it is, justifies a reason for us to give you something out of the ordinary. And go ahead, Gary.
But I'm going further than that
Yeah.
because there's the law.
Right.
You have, we're bound by what the state of Connecticut law is for granting variances. And I assume you know that. So you need to present to us what the hardship is and why is this the minimal adjustment necessary in a way that is supportable by the law or under the law.
It's a good plan, but we have to have a legal justification for doing it, a hardship.
Well, I mean, aside from not being a member of their family, obviously, you know, being in a house with what is happening with their family, their hardship is the
That's not
space
a-
that they have right now.
That's not a hardship. The hardship has to be with the land. And the Connecticut courts have said a desire to do something is not sufficient.
Yeah, we're not trying to beat you up, we're just telling you, like, we can't,
I'm just struggling with.
yeah.
yeah.
And
Is the restriction from, obviously you can't build in the front because of the existing
That
layout of the
makes-
building and the existing garage and the driveway, you're restricted in the back.
Technically, there is room in the front.
You're restricted in height from that, so you can only do so much.
Right.
So we're trying to work within what is allowable within the site. So if I had to pick what the hardship would be, it was basically the confines of the site and the existing structures create that hardship.
When
and
was the house
force us
built?
into-
1926,
What?
yeah.
So the house was built before the regulations?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because we could let you do something within the footprint, but that doesn't get you anything. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to go out fully over that sunroom.
Looks good. I mean,
The
it
plan
looks-
is
it looks
great,
nice.
the plan's
It
great, it's
looks
not
nice.
that. And you're bringing the attic more into code, all that. But we have to have a clear hardship here to do it.
Because, this is ancillary benefit, I know from what the law is for the variance, but, they have a non-conforming staircase, which is a, physical hazard,
Yep.
which you couldn't really rectify unless we do something. So it's trying to solve some other issues that way. There's problems everywhere with water and with drainage, and we don't want to increase impervious surface anywhere, so we're trying to be, work within those confines and come up with something that is sensitive to the site and works for the client.
Really, I mean, the only issue, Gary, right, the only issue is going over the sunroom. The attic, there's no height issue.
Mhm.
They're within
It's
code on the third
slight-
floor.
It's slight volume, not a big deal.
Not a big deal there. The big deal is going over the sunroom.
Can I ask a
Yes, what do you?
question? If you guys could help us clarify.
Yeah.
When I looked at the plans for the sunroom, it seemed questionable as to whether you can keep the foundation, whether you can keep first floor deck, whether you can even keep the wall. Obviously, you'd have to peel off the roof of the sunroom.
Yeah.
Right. The
But
foundation
what would
remains.
remain?
Foundation remains,
Are you sure?
absolutely,
Have you investigated?
absolutely. We're
You
keeping,
dug and figured out that there's a footing under it.
there's a footing underneath there,
There's a
absolutely.
footing and there is a crawl space, there's crawl space fence, so there is a crawl space already there.
Right
below
now,
that.
there is a step down from the living space into that sunroom. Obviously, trying to keep the dining room and the family room so that you don't have a step down into there. We're planning on building up the floor. Obviously, we didn't rip the house apart yet for them, there's people living in there, but we plan on just building up over the existing flooring. That entire 3 sides of that sunroom is almost all windows. So when all is said and done, when we redo the work, it's, the walls themselves are almost nothing once we take out the windows. So that would be rebuilt, the walls. But as far as the foundation, the footing, the foundation, and the flooring, we would like that to remain. Obviously, the roof, we don't have a choice if
Yeah.
we're building up
Right.
above.
But even with the wall, the larger windows, we have headers spanning across the windows. So, and then the sill is fairly high, like 40 or so inches high. So all we'll be doing in this case is increasing the amount of wall space and just filling in between the header and the sill. We're not going to be building entire new walls. Now, we will, since it is currently a 7.5-inch step down, we'd like to make that level. We're going to have to add onto the top of the wall plate an additional 7.5 inches to bring it level with.
You're
so the
putting all
floor's
new
on the
floor
first
joists,
floor?
right? You're putting all new floor joists in.
The first floor, the structural floor remains the same on the first floor. That's existing.
In the
It's just
sunroom.
of the crawl space. We're just bringing it up to level, so we're just gonna be
In
raising
the
up.
sunroom, are you preserving
sunroom.
the floor joists?
On the second
that are
floor, we're adding a new floor, correct.
That's not his question.
there? Have I asked it
Oh.
correctly?
Listen to his question and then answer.
Sorry, you go right ahead.
Are you preserving the existing sunroom floor joist system?
Yes, we're keeping the existing flooring.
Just
Stuff.
building up above it.
So right now, when you are in that room,
Yes,
you have to step up to another level.
Correct.
So you're leveling, you're going right on top of the existing
Correct.
structure.
Correct.
Oh,
yes,
Okay,
yeah.
so,
I
Sorry.
mean, we're
It's
trying,
it's
we're
not, it's
trying
not
to preserve
extremely
as much
clear
of
on
it
the
as
drawing. I
possible.
can
It's
see
not.
why, it's, yeah.
Can he go over part of the sunroom and still be within the setback, or no? There's no point, there's only a couple feet.
No, I mean, if there's
It doesn't
nothing
make it
there.
worth
Doesn't
doing,
make
okay.
it.
Can you
Okay.
get any of the living area that you're getting in the attic as opposed to, and I don't know, the 50% room, how it applies here. Can you get a second bathroom in the attic as opposed to on the second floor?
It's real, and, you know, one is just in planning, it'd be an awkward use of the space.
What does that mean?
We have a master well, right now we have an office and a bedroom plan for that space. And we're limited because it's the 50% of the area below the roof.
Are
So,
you
and then we have
are
this,
you planning a bathroom up there on the third floor?
no,
But you're saying you're gonna get a bedroom and an office up there?
Well, the office is just an open landing to where the stairs come up.
It's a
Once the
pass-through, it's
stairs
not an
get
enclosed.
done, it's more of just a landing spot where when you come up to that.
But the bedroom is a true bedroom,
correct.
Yes,
but no bathroom.
no,
No,
So the
they need the fourth bed.
the occupant of that bedroom will go downstairs to a bathroom?
Yes.
correct.
Is
Have
there a
you-
way to get the bathroom up there?
Yeah.
So that you don't have to add non-conforming volume?
Well, I think what we were trying to attempt to do for the owners,
But that's not the-
But, sorry, I
Yeah.
think that's conforming volume, right?
That is
It is,
conforming
as long as it's
volume.
the
That's my
50%,
point.
yeah.
Yeah,
Can they put a
Oh,
bathroom
take the
up?
bathroom, that's gonna
Right.
be in the
There's a
second.
headroom issue, they're increasing the.
I'm
setback.
asking
I
you,
figured
can
that
you
out.
do it, not whether it's the desirable result. Can it be done in that space? In a
physically,
conforming, to your point, in a
Physically-
conforming volume?
physically, a lot is possible. The problem is that if we take out, let's say, a bathroom to make space on the second floor,
That's not what I'm asking. It's that you don't do this addition above the
Sunroom.
sunroom,
yeah,
But instead, because that addition above the sunroom is getting you a bathroom and
Yes.
expanding the size of a bedroom. That's what it does.
Yeah.
Can you get that upstairs?
I think you can, you just have to reconfigure your design,
Yeah, it would,
yeah.
and the head height is the, you know, the issue there that we had to work with to get just the landing space, the stairs, and that bedroom area.
I don't know.
I'm not saying it can't be
I don't know
done.
how close you are to the 30-foot.
We're within, what was the final 29 point?
Yeah.
For in height,
Yeah.
we're essentially 29 feet is
Okay.
the,
And where are you with neighbors on this? Do your neighbors know what you're
Yes.
doing? Do they support it? Do you have letters of support?
I don't have letters of support, but I sent them all the letters.
Okay.
And you spoke?
I spoke to my nearest two neighbors, and we're both
I'm
supportive.
gonna ask when you guys are done if there's anybody that wants to speak
Yep.
on behalf of that, but that helps. Yeah, John, you haven't said anything? I'm sorry, I mean,
No, nothing for me right now.
I mean, look, I'm troubled because it is a good design.
it's a great design, you guys did great, it's just not a hardship. We can only grant things that, for legal reasons, we can't allow something outside of the buildable area unless there's a true defined hardship.
Does it make sense to postpone this to allow you to go back, hit the books, look at law, and present to us what you think is a justifiable hardship? Because you haven't said it today.
I mean, if you're.
We'll leave it open.
Yeah.
Because you run the risk of us
Okay
voting and
with-
turning this down, which means,
I
yeah,
understand.
they could do
Yeah.
that.
You can
Give up.
continue the hearing, sure.
You continue the hearing.
I thought there was a timing. I thought the agenda said there was some timing.
They had already, we bumped this from last week, last month.
Yeah, effectively, they'd have to grant us an extension to continue the hearing.
Oh, good point.
So they would just
Which
have to
they-
say they're okay. I
Which they would.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I would say, like, on the right-hand side, where it's being, you're popping up a little to get that little
Yeah.
bit more headroom. I mean, to me, that feels like a minimal adjustment there, right,
Yeah.
on that side. Like that, I don't,
Yeah.
personally, don't have any issue with. I think maybe
sunroom side's gonna kill
The
you
other
guys,
side's
yeah.
gonna be the problem. I think.
And just, we don't grant, as of right, people going above sunroom. And we face this all the time,
yeah.
that there's a sunroom that's in a non-conforming location, people want to go above it, and they just assume, I can go right above it because I'm not expanding the footprint. That's,
And it also doesn't help that.
Found your
in
phone.
s-
He found it.
I found it. It was in the other pocket.
does that make sense for you guys to think about
Well, I think.
how to
if-
justify
if
it,
it's-
even how to justify the same plans, just because we're struggling to find the hardship, and it's not really our job to find the hardship, you're supposed to present it in a way
Yeah.
that we can,
I mean, if I read it
Grasp?
correctly or hear you correctly, I think at this moment, the only way that there is gonna be the opportunity to do this is if we flip it and
No.
are able to get the bathroom up under the area that's,
I'm presenting you with another option.
okay?
Go back to school and present to us a hardship. Think about study what the requirements are for hardships and present that to us.
If there's a true hardship, we can grant
If it's the minimal adjustment.
if it's a minimal adjustment. We still have to weigh on that. We still have to say, you could, I mean, what John's asking is like, is there any other place on this lot to do this? If there is, you gotta justify why you didn't choose that other area. You know, and I know it's not convenient, there's a garage there, there's a patio, I see all that. I had a house on Christie Hill, we
Yeah.
never built over the garage, we tore the garage down, we had to do it to get the footprint we needed. There was no hardship, so, I mean, that's what we're facing. Yeah.
You might also consider, can you go back? Because it
Well-
does seem like there is some room if you
Yeah.
were to go back.
Yeah, I mean, I know that was one of the questions that was sent, and, you know, our first answer to that was, we're trying not to increase the footprint of the space, we're trying not to increase impervious area.
Right.
You know, we're trying to make it, again, the first floor, there was no reason for us to increase if that's not what the homeowners need for, you know, living there. It's the second floor and then the attic space. So,
Todd, what's the coverage now on the lot? Is it under 20%?
we've got it on the survey there somewhere.
I believe
it's like
also
15.
in my item K.
It's like 15%.
Okay, so you could expand your footprint. It's not what you want to do, but you could. And you could even tear the garage down and get even more. I know.
Maybe you can.
Yeah.
We don't want to solve your, I know what you're trying to do. It's a good plan. It's
Yes.
not,
Stay away from garages tonight.
Let me just point out, this is very unusual to have 4 50-foot wide lots and have the next door house only 3.8 feet away and 2.5 stories.
yeah.
So you're adding a whole lot of volume very close to this neighboring house, which
Well-
is really not what we like to do.
But if I may, in our initial meetings with you, part of what the process was to make this so that there was the possibility of approval, because there was at one point, do we do something where there was even more volume on the third floor? And I'm not putting words in anybody's mouth, and I know it was all preliminary talk, but part of getting to this point where we were was keep it down to that one additional level over the sunroof. Don't even think about expanding out to get headroom or anything up in the third floor area. Really, that's what drove our initial design, was that meeting between the three of us and where we came up with this, as well as
That's
trying
confusing.
to save as much of and making sure we preserve as much of that first floor area as possible. So like I said, I realize an initial meeting isn't the be all and end all of the answer of whether they're allowed to do this or not. But quite frankly, a lot of what we have proposed here was driven off of our initial meetings. If it was a matter of being told right out of the box, you're never gonna get this if you do anything over that sunroom area, I wouldn't have wasted all our time and or their money to doing it.
I think what Gary's saying is you could still get this approved. If you can clearly come up with a hardship for us that justifies it.
I think you've designed a good plan, now
Yeah.
you just need to justify it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, but I get your frustration. You're saying, well, look, we just did all this under the direction of you guys. I don't know, I wasn't at that meeting.
No, I get it,
Let's put-
and I'm not trying to throw
Yeah.
anybody under the bus or anything, that's not my intent
Yeah.
of saying that, I'm just saying a lot of what has been proposed and what you see in front of you came from hours and hours of
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
meetings and design time and meetings with, a member of your board here, where we were hoping that, geez, if we do this, what has been spelled out, there's an opportunity that these homeowners get this done.
I don't recall things that way. but
Imagine the
leave it at that.
reaction if you did have it on the third floor too. It'd be even worse, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think, you've got a couple options here. You can postpone the hearing, come back to us with a clearly defined hardship for this plan. You
Or
can,
adjust the plan also.
you can adjust the plan. You can also have us vote on it tonight. And you may, I don't know how that would go, but you'd need 3 out of the 5 of us to approve it. 4, I'm sorry, Gary, you're right, 4 out of 5. Thank you, Gary.
Can we
Who is the
vote?
chairman?
Can we vote?
Yeah, you may not vote. So you guys can decide, but before you do that, are there any neighbors or anyone else in the audience that wishes to be heard on the application for 223 Middlesex? Okay, going once, no, okay. Okay, so what would you guys like to do?
I mean, if I was a gambling man, I'd say you guys are gonna knock it down, and I don't wanna hear your, for her standing here
I know.
to hear this.
She's pregnant, she wants to get going, I know.
Exactly, so, I'd rather everybody be upfront about it, and like I said, just from hearing your comments, it doesn't sound like it's gonna be approved if I say go ahead, and I don't want her to have to hear that here.
I don't know. My guess is that we don't have enough to work with here. We've turned down lesser. So, I don't mean to be a hard ass about it. I think if you're a betting man, I think I would go back and see if you can make this plan work with a clearly defined hardship or adjust the plan.
So what does that require with you? Do we get an extension for that to
Yes.
the next meeting?
You would ask for an extension, because you need one, right? Because it's,
They would have to give us an extension because it's.
You have
Yeah,
to
just
decide, yeah.
Are you agreeable to continuing the hearing to January 15 is what it would be?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
she's doing a few months, they're not picking up and moving and,
Yeah.
anything like that's not happening.
Yeah.
So,
And I know you're frustrated, I'm sorry about your personal situation, but I think that's a good plan, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry, guys, that this hasn't gone more smoothly.
okay,
So we're gonna continue this until the January 15th hearing.
okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
thank you. Okay. Next, we have calendar number 23-2024. This is Nick DeMeo. It will be presenting on behalf of Emmanuel Hammond to allow the construction of 2 second-story dormers and a rooftop cupola addition at 17 Searles Road. Nick, we've heard from you before. We gave you a hard time just as we did these poor gentlemen, so let's see what you come up with.
You beat me up pretty bad. but
We
I'm
beat you
back
up, Nick.
for another round, I guess. I guess I'll just.
We've got all the printouts and the
Okay,
packets
all
from
right.
before, too.
That's
all right.
helpful to have.
Yeah, that is helpful.
Yeah, there is
Oh,
a,
there it is.
Totally. Oh, thank you.
Nick, it's
Oh, good.
And I remember this being a very strangely lot, buildable area, I should say. Yeah.
It is very strange.
Okay.
So would it be helpful to recap the last meeting?
If you could do it succinctly, that'd be great. Because I don't think,
Okay.
Gary, you weren't on this first hearing? That would
Yeah, I
help.
don't
He's
think Gary
watched the
was here.
tapes, but that would be good. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I do even have the old drawings, but essentially, so the area in question is a large portion of the house here that extends beyond the building setback. We're on a corner lot here with Indian Trail and Searles Road. This is a very old structure here that predates any of the more recent work done to the residence. This structure originally was a gas station, I'm told, and now it's a 2-car garage on the first floor with a mechanical room and a mud room, and above that is a rec room, a bonus room, with very, very low ceilings, a very poorly insulated space, kind of a space that the homeowners don't really use. Really what I think is it's because of the fact that it's non-conforming. The rest of the house has been updated and this has just been kind of left. It's very awkward, it sticks very far out and it's very low proportionally to the rest of the house. So part of the desire for the project was how can we improve this structure, make it more livable for the clients, with all that's sort of happening here. So last time we were proposing to increase the height of the second floor, so bring the ridge up. I think we were just under 6 feet with how much height we were adding. So we were adding significant volume in the building setback. We do have a few hardships to consider here. One is this area of the home is in a flood zone. So the mechanical room has mechanical equipment that we were looking to lift and put in the attic space above that second floor. We also have a hardship of the Indian Trail setback here, the corner setback, which is leading us to a very large non-conforming building area here, or portion of the building within the building setback, almost half the footprint of the house. But this is really kind of the breaking point of the area in question. The other two hardships that we were facing was there's no parking within the building setback, and there is a sort of a hazardous area here where Indian Trail intersects with Searles Road. Right now, the driveway for the house is essentially Indian Trail. I have some photos for you guys here just for last time, but you can go through and essentially, so that we got an endorsement from the Tokenie Commission saying that they definitely support the project because they want to see some improvements to that corner. So part of us reworking the second floor a little bit goes hand in hand with improving the sight lines and creating 2 spaces within the building setback.
We love that.
So for our proposed plans here, this time around, we are proposing no volume increase. We are actually taking away volume from the existing structure. We are adding that back in through the cupola and the dormers that you referenced. So it's sort of an even exchange of volume. Let me bring you guys to this page here.
Let me just make that clear. It's non-conforming volume is a swap.
Non-conforming volume is the swap. So the blue area represents the volume we are getting rid of, and the yellow here shows the dormers for some added ceiling height in there, and the cupola also for added ceiling height. And we just feel like this area here is just so architecturally different than the house, and it needs scale. It like needs proportion, and we're trying to figure out a way to do that with the minimum amount of new volume because of the fact that it's not within the building setback. So you could see we're basically pulling back this skirt roof. We're getting rid of these columns, so this blue area goes away, and then we're cutting in here on the dormer so before this wall came out flush, and now we're sort of pushing that in a little bit to make up for the volume that we're adding through with the dormer.
Nick, do you know the math? Do you know what the volume was and what it's going to
Yeah,
become?
so it's all kind of spelled out over here.
Okay.
So massing to be removed is 346 cubic square feet. Proposed added massing is 338 cubic square feet.
So it's a pretty even swap, okay?
It's a pretty even swap.
It's still in non-conforming, okay?
Still non-conforming, so coupled with that, we have sort of our site improvements, which is to get rid of the semicircle driveway and have a straight shot. We would take the garage doors that are currently on the end and move them over to here, and that gives us a parking courtyard that's within the building setback. So we can't physically have two spaces in the building setback in the garage, but we can have them on the site. One thing we spoke about last time was,
Wait, so you're saying, okay, so say that again? So the garage will not be able to house two cars?
it will has two cars.
But it's still in.
It's still in the-
Got it,
yeah.
got it.
The garage
okay,
structure
okay.
is
But
non-conforming.
we don't want cars all over this place. Part of the reason,
But they have, well, right, so they can still park cars in the garage,
Okay.
but they'll also have two conforming
Two
spots.
conforming spots now, whereas before they were.
I think that's better, yeah.
So, you know, and we even looked at it because last time it was brought up, can you demolish this and build a garage over here? So we looked into that, and there just isn't enough room to do it. You wouldn't have, so you're kind of left, if you look at the shaded area, this is where the garage would have to be. And, you know, you really don't have enough room to get a two-car garage there within the building setback. And because of the fact that it, you know, narrows to such a point.
So how much
here.
would it go outside of the setback? Could you get 70% of the garage in there?
Well, what it would trigger though is you'd have to relocate the front door and you'd have to do more building within the area in question here. Because you basically cover the front door with a garage.
Okay.
So
Can you
it's
say
just,
that?
Can I
Sorry,
ask
go
a
on.
question?
Sorry, John.
yeah.
So, from what we've seen, it looks like the buildable area is even smaller than that. You're showing more buildable area than what we've seen.
I think
So
it
I don't know if
depends
that's
where
an
you-
open to
That's not what
interpretation
we've
thing?
seen in the
But I
past.
think
This is
it
what we
depends
saw in
where
the
you
past.
I'm
measure.
going with Woody on this one.
Yeah.
65 from the center line.
That's what we're
different
looking at.
So yours is right.
Because of 65.
So
center
you're,
line.
it's even.
And Indian
I'm
Trail's
not
very
trying
narrow.
to.
But Nick, the garage is already there.
The garage is over.
That's what he's working with the garage. That's
I'm
all.
working with the garage, I'm just trying to give us two
Yeah.
parking spaces
But I
within the
let
building.
you run the
Yeah.
tables on putting it in other places, because you know Gary's gonna ask that. Where else
no,
could you
this
put
is
this
good.
garage?
Yeah, no, I trust you.
Look, I wasn't
Yeah.
on the last one, but it seems like what you did is exactly what the board asked you to do,
Yes.
was to go back and kind of rejigger things.
Right.
It
And
is.
still come up with a workable plan.
With,
Right.
that made it safer, that allowed for parking off the street.
Right.
Getting
reduced-
rid of that weird driveway thing out
Yeah.
onto two
Yeah.
roads is.
Yeah, it's a very problematic area.
And Nick, this plan does allow you to move the mechanicals.
It does allow us to move them.
And they're going to
We're
the
not
attic?
going to the attic, we have a designated spot on the second floor now.
Okay.
We made a mechanical closet on the second-
Within the buildable area.
within the buildable area.
So is there anything that you're proposing
Well,
that,
within.
Well, within the
Say
existing
that wrong.
structure.
Within the existing structure.
So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
don't-
yeah, yeah.
Right.
It's gonna go,
Not-
right, but it's not, you're not talking about putting, air handlers
Outside.
No,
outside?
no, we're not. So this is the mechanical closet where it was part of the laundry room, but we figured out that that's gonna be able to house the mechanical units we need, and it's right there on the second.
And you're gonna
floor.
raise it up so it's high enough, it's FEMA compliant?
So this floor is FEMA compliant. It's the area where it currently is underneath this floor.
Got it.
That's not.
So that's an improvement too.
So that's an
Okay.
improvement.
Many
Um,
improvements.
We're trying to make as many improvements as we can.
You're doing great. Okay, what do you
Thank
think, Matt?
Great project.
We're not deliberating yet, but any questions from you?
No, I
I don't
think that
have
this
any
is,
of
this is,
Yeah.
this is exactly what we asked
Yeah.
them to do last time. So I think they've addressed the concerns, I think they've got the, you know,
We're not deliberating yet, but
Yeah,
yes.
so-
You don't have any questions for Nick on this plan? Gary, you,
No.
no question?
No.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard on Searles Road?
I have a suggestion.
Yes, what do you-
Okay. Maybe you could show the board the Indian Trail elevation, existing and proposed.
Sure.
That's where it's closest to the,
So this is the Indian Trail elevation. This is the proposed. So we've got those two dormers going in, and we cut back here, and everything else remains the same.
Great.
I think it looks awesome.
a series of some additional windows and a cupola.
Yeah, we do have some additional windows, but the one thing to keep in mind though is on that side, there's no neighbors.
Neighbors, that's what I was gonna ask.
There's no
That's the
neighbors.
side with no neighbors,
It
okay.
just- It looks like a much better house.
It does. And the scale is better, Nick, it's good, it's good all. What about lighting, exterior lighting?
Exterior lighting,
There was an issue before with neighbors, talking about shining any lights onto the neighbors. So
Hmm.
any changes to landscaping or lighting that would affect the neighbors?
no, in fact, I think, none that are planned. If anything, you know, I guess since the garages are on the side now, there wouldn't, you know,
Yeah.
maybe there would be a light fixture or two on the side of the garage, but other than that, I can't really think of any exterior lighting that would
Be an
like
issue?
throw off, yeah, be enough to kind of, upset anybody.
Is there landscaping or anything that goes with this that we should be aware of?
Landscaping was just my preliminary landscape plan.
Okay.
That just proposes, you know, a kind of a low stone wall here with a fence on top. You know, not more than 4 feet tall, the whole structure. And then the idea was to just kind of create, you know, nice hedging along this area with like some boxwood type hedging. And then we would line the driveway with kind of maybe some birch trees or something like that, to kind of give the approach some
It's nice.
some character, and then kind of Belgian lined driveway. I think the driveway would be, right now it's gravel, and I think they would stick with gravel, so it'd be like a, you know, impervious, except for the cobblestone here.
And the road is not expanding, you're just giving it some buffer,
Yeah, the road is not expanding, so like the edge of the pavement is here, and
Yeah.
this is all grass.
grass, okay,
Yeah.
all right. I'm good if you guys are good.
Good.
Well done, Nick,
Cool.
you get an A.
Thank you.
Nice state of the hardship, nice
Appreciate
listen
it.
to the board, all right. We will deliberate shortly, okay. Okay, we're moving on to calendar number 26-2024, the application of Patrick and Ashley McManus. I think Robert Metzger of AIA, Neil Hawk is going to present, yes?
Yep.
Thank you. We've heard from you guys before. This is going to allow the construction of a replacement one-story, two-car detached garage. To allow the construction of, you'll take us through it.
Yeah,
Please.
sure. I mean,
Thank you.
this, I think, will look familiar to all of you. You heard.
Do me a favor, please, to state your name, if you could, for the record, before you start.
Robert Metzger with Neil Houck Architects.
Thank you.
Can I?
Yes.
Yeah. So you saw this replacement garage package along with some other requested variances a few months ago. It was presented by a different architect. That application was denied for, I think, sort of lack of clarity. They requested a height variance. There are a lot of elements, and ultimately, you guys, I think, determined that you didn't have enough information to really evaluate the application. So it did seem like there was a glimmer of hope for the garage, and so we're back here for the garage only, actually. Understanding you probably won't grant the height variance, we think we can design our way out of the other requested variances.
Great.
I think there was some input from everybody up here on how to do
Yeah,
that, if I
I know.
remember correctly.
So, 18 Highland is a uniquely shaped lot. The lot and the house and the garage all predate modern zoning code. As you can see, most of, well, perhaps about half of the house and nearly all of the existing garage are in the required setback, front yard setback from Academy Street. So also unique about this lot, it actually constricts to its narrowest point, right where you'd want to have width, right? Sort of in the sweet spot of, of the backyard. And then it swings out, creating sort of a boot shape, where because you have a required front yard setback from Academy Street, basically the whole toe of the boot becomes unbuildable. And that's, of course, where the existing garage is, and that's where we would like to relocate the proposed garage. So it's a very funny lot. The lot line actually turns like 102 degrees. You don't get that very often to continue along to create this sort of toe of the boot. Very strange, but the reality is that when you analyze the code compliant locations where you could put the garage, of course, there is one back in the northwest corner of the lot. You're left with, a spot that we feel has a lot of negative implications.
How would you even get to that corner?
You need a much larger driveway, dramatic increase in impervious area. There's a number of trees along the rear property line, as well as a nice, very large pine tree here that I think everyone, our clients, the McManuses, and the surrounding neighbors would like to see preserved. And it's hard to imagine how you can access the as-of-right location in the back corner here from Academy Street without at least, eliminating some trees and some of the privacy that benefits everyone involved here.
Robert, could you not attach the garage where that patio is? Was that ever an option? I mean, an
Right here?
attached garage to the house?
Well, that would not be compliant, right?
It still wouldn't be compliant?
No, right. So in fact, it would be entirely not, it's almost asking for the same variance that we're asking
Okay.
for now, right?
Scratch
Where
that
it's-
thing, that's right, we talked about that before.
Where it's
Thank you.
basically
Right, okay, yes.
entirely non-compliant.
Okay.
I always ask this
Yes,
question.
sure.
So, and I think I asked this last time around, somebody says it can't be rebuilt. I think if I remember correctly, the last person that presented didn't really do a great job explaining to me why it couldn't just be worked on there.
Yes.
But aside from that, and I will ask that question in a second, if you wanted to come in here and just fix this garage, if you want to just fix this garage up, re-side it, cut out some rotten sill plates, all that, would you have to come get permission from the board? Or is that as of right?
No, that's as of right.
Is that
That's the one wall where
That's
you
the
need one wall
50%.
replaced.
Well, no, the whole,
No.
well, the
Yeah.
whole garage is outside, because
No.
from my standpoint, it's like, well, it needs work.
It
No matter
does.
what, it needs to work. So is it a requirement to come get a variance just to work on it as it is, doesn't move, as it's sitting there right now?
Well, because of the 50% rule that we have. If the value of the garage, if the cost of the repairs would exceed half of the town appraised value, I'm
But-
sure
but
it's
wait a
very-
second.
Which is probably
But no, but wait a second, there's no town appraised value of the garage.
Right.
Yeah, there is.
It's not of the whole,
Well, the house
The
too,
house.
but there's an assessed value and there's a tax on it.
just on the garage.
Yeah, sure. Every
So,
structure.
So if the
So
value of the
the
garage
answer
is
is,
20,000.
likely
Yeah.
yes, because the value of the garage is probably
But that would
minimal.
be a
I would say
different
certainly, yes,
proposal.
right? I mean, it's,
Then you
Okay.
have to consider, well, what are you gonna be able to keep?
right.
Floor,
Yeah.
wall,
But let's
what?
talk about, so it looks like you're expanding the size of the garage slightly.
correct.
Are you going, it's one story now, you're doing two story?
No.
Right.
One-story replacement garage,
What about the finishes inside?
it's gonna be Spartan. It's a two-car garage. It's not intended for anything other than vehicle storage. So let me just.
We've heard that one before.
Yeah.
Well,
No, but is it gonna be sheet rocked? Is it
Is there
going
a
to be
loft? Is there a
electric?
loft?
Is it?
no loft. It will have power. We proposed a couple lights on the front of the garage, which there's a light on it now. I would say, I mean, what, if the fear is that this somehow becomes the rec room?
You got
That's
it.
not what's intended here.
Yes, we
So-
want it unfinished. Yeah.
No, the garage can be the walls of the garage can be finished, we're talking about attic. You can make the garage
Are
look
we?
good.
I don't know. I don't know. This is, no.
Well, no, 'cause-
No, I think we're
Not to
concerned
mix
with
them
them
up.
finishing
We're
it to
talking
make it a studio or
We're
any.
talking about two different things, and
Okay.
two different
All right.
plots of land,
Yes, we are.
and two different neighbor concerns.
Situations, okay.
They can, this doesn't have to be just studs
Raw
and.
space, all right.
yeah. But
Low sloping
that's what the
roof,
plans are.
basically the minimum height required to fit, two modern garage doors, 8 foot tall, and my client lives suburban, and that's, so what we propose is a garage that's 22 feet deep and 24 feet wide to the outside. I would suggest we build it with 2x6 walls, so you're gonna get a 21 foot deep and 23 foot wide garage. Client's car is 18.8 feet long. You're already putting the tennis ball to stop.
Right there.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not, we're not asking for really extra space. We're just trying to replace
It's the
a
minimum
structure.
adjustment.
Yeah, well, that's my contention, yes.
Yes.
It was a garage that has 2 cars. What we propose is a garage that houses 2 cars.
Sir, what'd you say the width of the garage is?
24 feet wide to the outside.
21 by 24?
Yeah, I
22 by
mean,
24.
frankly, we have an office standard for a 2-car garage, it's 24 foot square. So there's already less than that. I didn't want to press my luck by asking for 24 feet coming forward. So what's?
Sorry, one more time, what's existing garage size?
Yes, the existing garage is,
I think it's 21 by 24.
21 foot 2.5 deep. So we're proposing adding 9.5 inches of depth. And it is 20 foot 4 inches wide, and we're proposing adding 3 foot 8 inches of width.
What about the neighbor in the back there? There's somebody right directly behind that garage.
There is, in fact, we have pretty incredible neighbor support for this project.
I believe that neighbor is here and wants to be heard.
Yes, they are. So, actually, we have letters of support from 4 neighbors, so this is the subject parcel here. We have letter of support from the neighbor directly behind the rear property line here and here. We have a letter of support from this neighbor here, and a letter of support from the across the street neighbor here. Number 19, perhaps not so relevant, but they sent it, so I
Nice.
sent it along to you, yes. So,
So the neighbor to, what's that, 26?
The one that's most impacted is, I believe it's the Browns.
It says 26 feet on this.
yes, Trudy and Ben Larrabee. Yeah, number 26 is Trudy and
Right,
Ben's
so
house.
they support, and I guess if they're here, they can come and talk, but
Yes.
they support rebuilding there, and the proposal to move it all the way back in the corner is basically right there on their property. Okay.
I would say supported by no one. No one is saying, please build this in the compliant area.
I get it, okay.
So, just want to address a couple of the staff questions. So, a suggestion was made, and actually a nice sketch was included, that you might put the garage in the back corner and snake a driveway over to it from Academy. I would actually argue that, somebody brought up that this may not be the safest driveway. Well, I would actually argue that this is less safe. If you look at the turn there, there's significant vegetation that comes all the way to the edge. This is bamboo, it's been there for a while. I think they've attempted to remediate it, it keeps coming back. But you can imagine if the driveway turns in right there, well, you're actually almost coming right out on the blind corner. When you're back here, farther up where the current driveway is, you have about 80 feet of visibility down past the corner, and you can actually see all the way to the post road. It's not a particularly heavily traveled road. I've went there and sort of scoped it out a few times. You get an occasional car. As you know, or maybe don't know, you know, the street down in here is a dead end, and there's another street, Fairview, that winds down. I think most people that live on that street take the first turn and go down Fairview. So really, the people that are traveling down Academy are, I don't, you know, very, very few and far between.
Could you call up that alternative plan again for a moment?
Absolutely. Was that your word?
Yeah.
Woody?
Okay, no pride of authorship.
No.
Let's admire this for a bit longer.
Yeah, fine.
So where's the current driveway?
Straight into it.
Right there.
So what if you entered there? and went
Yeah,
back to-
I mean, certainly, Woody, I would say that, I mean, I'm not denying that there is a way to make that work. It would, you know, you'd lose that tree certainly.
It can be done.
It can be done, right. There's a retaining wall here approximately 20.
And you could work around the
20
big
inches tall.
pine tree too.
Yeah, yeah, you probably could. But now we're talking about basically cutting,
It's
you
like a
know.
slalom course.
Yeah,
Not really.
But what do the garage is there?
Yeah, it's there.
the garage is there. I also just want to make, you know,
wanna
one
bring those
interesting,
next
unique aspect of this property is that you have a required front yard setback from Academy Street, but there's really, once you get to this point, there's no front yard neighbor that you're protecting against bulk, right? I mean, if you can imagine, you know, the neighbor here wanted to build a garage that was in the front yard setback. Well, number 17 would probably have something to say about that.
Yeah.
But here, when you're looking at this garage, there's actually the nearest, you know, front yard neighbor is Darien Senior Housing, and it's 156 feet away. So there's no real impacted, there's no neighbor that's negatively impacted, and there are quite a few neighbors that I would argue that would be negatively impacted if you put it in
In the
the back.
conforming
Yeah.
space. Good?
I think that was a good argument.
Yep.
So let me just see what else did I. Yeah, I suppose that's, you know, those are the salient points. I'm happy to answer any questions.
You did great. You got any questions? No.
I'm good.
Jan?
Good.
Gary, you need to speak
good.
up.
No,
Are there any
we're on.
neighbors that wish to be heard on the application?
I believe
Please
so.
come forward and state your name at the podium, please, for the record. Thank you. Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
We can come back to you if you want. Okay.
Good evening. Trudy Larrabee, 26 Fairview. We, my husband and I, we live behind on 26 Fairview, the abutting. And while we understand there is a zoning compliant location for the garage, which would be relocating it in the backyard, it would negatively impact our property, which directly abuts it. We would have a direct view of the garage from the back of our house and our yard. And the necessary removal of trees would be a real shame because right now we get just a nice natural barrier between our two properties. So we'd be looking at the side of a house instead of trees. So we hope that the town will grant the variance and we appreciate you considering. Thank you.
Thank you, Trudy. Next.
You knew I was coming.
The hit parade. I knew Annalisa was coming.
Okay. Hi, I'm Annalisa Brown. I live at 20 Academy Street, and I'm the directly north neighbor, so I look at their garage currently, and I love it. I see absolutely no reason to move it. Everyone's been very polite saying that it's unique property shape or whatever. It's crazy. It's crazy. There's no way for them to like conform or whatever, but the garage is there. We actually love it. It's kind of a block for us to like the senior housing, the post road. So we're all in support of adding it. The other thing is my dog, every morning I let him out and he chases a squirrel. If that garage wasn't there, he'd probably end up in the post road.
Is your dog here to speak tonight?
He's not. He would have loved to come. But so we're like totally fine. And I've also been there for 32 and a half years, so it's not like I just moved in a couple, you know. And the other funny thing is, to the point of very little traffic, when we first moved in 32 years ago, my husband said, yeah, it's great, it's 20 Academy Street. Turn off the post road, go up Academy Street. I got to the garage, I'm like, it ends.
It looks like it dead ends into the garage.
It ends. And I went back, and I don't know how long you guys have all lived in town. I went to the post bar because there were no cell phones then. And I had to go and say, can I use your phone? I have to call like my sister-in-law to find out like where the house is. So it's not a heavily trafficked area. It's perfectly safe the way it exists now. I do think that the lot is seriously compromised. If you're looking for hardship, there's a lot. I think moving the garage would also just create, besides the trees and having to dig through a retaining wall, and it would just be
Sounds like you're all for this. You're fully supportive.
all for it.
Go garage and existing space.
Let me
Thank you.
ask, let me ask, if you don't mind, do you own you have the what's it called? The bamboo? Is that on your
do we have to talk
property?
about that? Yeah, that's ours.
Wow. Okay.
We got a little plant with 3 stalks when my husband turned 30,
Yeah.
and it
Oh
is what
my
it is
God.
today.
Beware.
Be good
Yeah,
to talk
it's
about.
impossible to get rid of. Anybody else wish to be heard? Nope. Okay, Robert, anything else? Good.
Yeah. That's
All
it.
right.
Just to address the previous question, the garage really is in such a state of disrepair,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to try and do anything with it. It's real, I think I could push it over.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so that concludes our hearings this evening. Now we're going to move to deliberations and decisions, which means you can stay, but none of you get to speak anymore. Since we have so many neighbors, do you guys mind if we start with Highland and get that off the books, and then the neighbors can go home?
Totally.
So let's go in reverse. Jana, what do you think?
I think that the case was made very well for keeping it where it is, and it sounds like it's unsafe, basically, and it needs to be worked on. So I think I feel comfortable that they've come back with something that is basically minimum adjustment necessary. They're not asking for volume, they're just asking to replace an existing structure. To me, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think this is one of the strangest shaped lots
I agree.
that I've seen come before the board. So the uniqueness of the lot and the 2 roads that create the corner lot, create a hardship. The garage is there, the additional area of the garage, footprint of the garage, I think brings it into modern expectations for larger cars than when that garage was built. And once again, I think the applicant heard pushback on other plans for this property and have presented something that's a minimal adjustment necessary to address the hardship.
I think he really did minimal. I mean, he could have gone bigger. He could have gone to a 24 by 24.
Yeah, and come back with other things about
Yeah,
the
and they
house.
stayed away from the main house,
Yeah.
which
Yep.
just, that was, I
Wasn't gonna
think
happen.
was the biggest stumbling
That was a big
block
issue.
last time, is like, why do you really need this? I think the presentation was great, got the hardships, I'm okay with
You're
this.
good?
Yeah.
Yep, I'm okay too. Last time we had issues with the main house, didn't really have issues with the garage, and not granting the variance would put it in a worse position by just leaving it as is, so I'm supportive of this.
Ditto for me. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor? 5-0, congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice neighbor turnout. Thanks, Robert. Okay, then we'll go to Nick DeMeo, since Nick is here. Let's talk Searles Road. Okay, love it. What do you think?
I like the original one. I was voting yes in favor of the original one.
You were the only yes.
Nick's like, why didn't you speak up?
Well, I mean, and also, I'll say it again, like, Indian Trail Road is a dirt road, so,
Yeah.
I don't know why, that alone for me was enough, but, I think the new proposal is even better. I like the parking situation. Yeah, I think it's an improvement actually in a lot of ways, so,
Good.
I'm supportive of it.
Okay? Get it?
Yeah, it's much better.
Good.
It's, trading mass, I get it, it's still out, it's still,
It's one for
it's
one.
still
It's not-
non-conforming, it's 1 for 1. The, the driveway swap and change, that's a benefit for the entire association.
Agreed.
It's a big safety improvement. I
Huge,
think.
and the
it's
water
very-
issue.
And getting the mechanicals outside of the
Agreed.
flood, the uniqueness of the location of the house, again, predating the zoning regulations and almost that whole area being non-conforming. I
You
think
good with the
did-
hardship, Gary? You
Yeah,
good with
I
the
think
lot?
you did a
Yep.
really good job of swapping volume for volume and creating a nice parking area.
And I think it's aesthetically wonderful. Now, that is not what we're here to decide on, but kudos all around.
But although, to your point, although it's just a one-for-one swap on volume,
Yeah,
it's
It's
more,
different.
no, it's more
Okay.
conforming because you're getting 2 parking spots, whether they're used or not. There are now 2 parking spots inside the allowable area, and that's an advantage.
that's.
And even more, some of the volume that they're removing from the front gets you further away from, what is that, Searles?
From Searles?
From
Searles Road, I
Searles,
think.
yeah. So-
Yeah, I think it's a win all around.
Yeah.
So I'll move to approve.
Can we consider some stipulations maybe?
What?
Well, like, they have to do the drive improvements as part of the project. In other words, the driveway improvements, in other words, they have to.
Right, so they can't
effectively
just
make
go
the
add the
courtyard-
volume and then never do the driveway improvement.
Right.
Yeah.
You gotta essentially,
Oh, I
as
assume
part of
that's
the
part of the
project,
That's
plan.
100%.
part of the
Yeah.
I thought that
justification
would be
for,
part of the plan, is that not?
Well,
Do
we
have
can
to
see the
specify?
plans are not.
they might wanna make sure it's
Yeah, I
followed
think
through.
Woody has a lot of experience with this. Okay, so stipulation that the driveway
That's
be
fine.
finished.
That makes sense.
That the planned
Yep.
changes to the driveway and parking are affected before CO. Lights, do you wanna say anything about not having lights
There are
someplace?
no neighbors.
He touched on it, it's not, yeah.
I
Well,
would
the only
ex-
thing is, we wouldn't want lights to shine into the road, right?
But I would expect
'Cause it's that close to
sconces
the-
on, but I would expect sconces on the side of garage doors.
Yeah, I'm talking any kind, no
Well,
kind
those
of,
motion
no kind of
sensors
motion
and things.
sensor, spotlights or
We could-
anything.
That was what my concern was, the motion
But
sensors.
into the
Those-
courtyard, yes.
Into the courtyard's fine, yeah.
Yeah,
Pointing
not
out
pointing to the
towards
street.
either street.
right.
So no.
So no headlights, or what do you call those, the spotlights?
Floodlights.
Floodlights?
Yeah, floodlights. We have a standard stipulation for that they don't have visible glare beyond the property line, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
Okay, want to do it again, Gary?
That's my motion.
That's your motion, who seconds?
I'll second it.
Matt, all in favor? That's 5-0.
Okay.
Congratulations, Nick, nice work. Yeah,
That's
we
two
appreciate
perfect-
it.
That's 2
Wow.
perfect examples of
Yeah, people
the first
listening,
plan being excessive and
Well put.
bringing it down. It's good.
I love it. Okay,
All right,
final,
now the fun.
well, not fun yet, hold on, we got one more. Oh,
I got this.
I'm sorry,
I got
we
this.
continued, okay. Woody, you have that down,
Okay,
right?
so let me just, on that front,
Yeah,
other towns, this goes to an agenda item about having council brief us, and I think it could be useful to applicants as well. Other towns, Madison, and I did find another one, I can't find it right now, because I.
Really?
Because you have 6,000
and
tabs.
he's an
Because I have
alternate.
6,000 tabs open up.
Look at him as an alternate,
Do you
pulling
wanna,
it
hold
forward.
on, do you want to
He's
see
a
my,
veteran.
have kind of standards written, and okay, in layman's language, describing not only to the board, but also the applicants, what the standards are for achieving, for presenting a hardship.
There's been some rough ones recently.
And I think that's a useful thing to ask council to do. And we can, here, if you want to see my desktop. There
That's
we
a
go.
mess.
So, I think we
You're the
should
guy who
ask,
always says it's
and
on
I
my
can,
desktop.
I can look for examples to give to council, but I think it'd be educational, and we have something like that in the past.
We
But
do have
these are like
something in
two
the
sheeters.
we do have something in the application that basically tells people stuff like personal stuff, like your family issues or not
Yeah,
justification.
but I think we
But they
should.
say it anyway.
I think we should look at that, especially in light of recent cases that make it even more difficult for us.
You made a great point earlier. It is not our job to help them define the hardship.
Right, and I want them to do their homework and
I
come
know.
back to us.
I agree.
And maybe we'll say yes. Because that lot's unique over other lots. I mean, to say every lot's 50-foot wide,
Right.
they don't understand that that hurts their case under case law.
Yeah, you want to differentiate.
And look, I'd like them to find a hardship, because I think that is a good plan.
I think
for
it is
this
too.
Property. But it might be too much of an addition for that particular lot. if they
It'd be
can't
interesting
define.
to know what the neighboring properties are. She said it was 1,400 and they were gonna make it 1,800. What's 221?
Yeah.
You know, is that
They're
three,
still
is that 3,000 square feet
No,
there?
they're all tiny homes.
Yeah,
That's
no,
Gary and I's old
I think
neighborhood.
that's a
It's
good,
all
that's, maybe it helps, maybe it hurts, but.
1,400 square feet, those houses, they're little.
Well, that one at 221 is huge though.
221? Theirs is.
Oh, maybe it doesn't help,
Oh.
but it's worth,
Yeah, I could
worth-
pull that.
it's
I'm a
worth
realtor. I could do that.
So anyway, that just goes to my pitch, Woody, to try to get usable memos from council.
Okay.
You know, we've talked about having a session with council for a while, so maybe it's time over the winter or sometime soon.
Okay. So in other business,
Are we touching on the garage or not?
yeah, I
Yeah.
want to talk about that. Let's start with
Even
that
though-
one, because
but
that's
that
important.
Did get kicked though the next month?
Well, so what they want to do,
Can, yeah.
did you see Woody's suggestions on what we can do with this? So you guys know the backstory on Edge Hill, that we granted this with stipulations, and then they went and built it
Right.
and finished it, and then the ZEO went and approved it.
so
So,
there's a CO issued?
No.
not yet. But the
So what
zoning
does that
enforcement
mean? What is-
officer kind of overrode our stipulations. So,
And the inspector too.
yeah,
Kinda, sorta.
Were they aware of them? I mean, is this a case of the left hand not talking to the right hand?
we don't know.
It's like a matter of interpretation. What finished is. As far as I can tell.
Yeah, okay.
Is that all right?
If it's
So go
okay,
ahead, please.
can I pass along a couple things? and
Yeah.
Talk about this for a minute. Because this is
Be
pretty big
curious
deal, I
if
think.
we could-
Within our zoning regulations, we actually have a section called Zoning Board of Appeals. And it's effectively instructions from the Planning and Zoning Commission on how we're supposed to function. And what I did was just copy it for your reference. But on the second page, there's a section about conditions and safeguards. And what it basically means is that we have a duty to essentially attach conditions and safeguards that may be necessary to protect public health, safety, welfare, neighbors, whenever you're granting a variance. And even remedy violations and encroachments is essentially implied. So when I did have that background, which is significant, we're supposed to condition things, like we just did with put in your driveway and make your improvement of the site. Let me pass these along. Now, this is the, I think there's 5 here, but,
We could. We could.
Might wanna think about that
pardon
one.
me?
John's saying maybe we add a stipulation to the Highland garage that we just did, that they cannot finish the, I don't think there's enough
That's
headroom.
Second floor?
I think
Doesn't have
it's,
Just to be,
it doesn't
consi-
have.
so we're
yeah.
consistent
Have the
with,
second floor.
Doesn't have one.
But
oh yeah, because there was no loft, right?
Right,
Okay,
there, it's,
you're right.
it's narrowly pitched, but yeah.
Yeah, it may even be open on the interior, I don't know. So this is the decision for 3 Edge Hill Drive. And, you know, Barb was able to sign it. What's significant is item 3 here about the loft space in this garage. And this was a pretty big variance to grant, 9 feet instead of 40. They did have an alternative location. But we're
This
supposed to
definitely
look-
went into the evaluation because the neighbors didn't want the second floor to be used for anything other than storage. But that's why we did that's why the stipulation's there.
Yeah, and I also wanted to point out, we send a letter after every decision, and it's a several-page letter, to the applicant and owner, also to the owner. In this case, it was Attorney Bob Maslin representing the owners, but the owners are copied. And among the things we say is, as you know, the ZBA application process is very detailed for several reasons. There may be specific conditions of your approval that you need to pay attention to. Couldn't have been more clear. But they have an obligation to follow through, and they can't go and change things without coming forward and telling us. So that's in the record and pretty clear. So then we go to what I'll say are the options, I think, for you guys to consider. And pardon me, I'll pass this down too.
Oh, thanks for getting that.
So, and also while I'm passing those out, so I went back through the drawings
Yeah.
this morning.
Fair enough.
So-
Yeah, I need that one.
Just kind of
I need it.
for the history of the drawings. They, The drawings that they showed the board, I guess that was the 221 meeting. I think it was
Probably, yeah,
221.
in February. Right.
Those drawings that they presented to the board were dated November 9th, 2023. They had the meeting on 2/21/2024. We told them no finishing upstairs, right? So there was the note on the drawings about finishing upstairs. And then in the Maslin letter, the drawings that I assume were the ones that were filed with the building department here are dated 2/26, and they do not remove that note at all. So that.
Sorry, which note was that?
So there's a note on the drawings that says that they presented to us, I'm saying us, I wasn't
Yeah.
actually here, but that says sheetrock, type X, whatever, roofs, underside, joists. It basically says sheetrock the entire place from the ridge all the way down to the ground, right? The board said, no, you can't do the second floor. They redated the drawings and just submitted them without removing their note or picking or changing that to say, this sheetrock is from elevation 10 foot down, whatever it is.
So they didn't indicate on the drawings that they filed with the town, the condition that the board.
Correct. So, who filed the drawings? I assume the builder filed the drawings, right? Whether or not they knew that, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. It's the responsibility of the owner to make sure that they pick up
And the builder.
the notes on their drawings that, so that is, I think
Blatant
that's pretty
violation.
problematic.
And then
right?
there's the insulation that was nowhere to be found on the architectural drawings or in their presentation.
right.
here.
But
okay,
sheetrock and insulation,
So there's a
I'm-
little
I'm
tension
kinda-
here, right? To your first position that the zoning board's supposed to try to make safety determinations, okay? But we shouldn't make a stipulation that is counter to building code, fire code, electrical
course not.
code, plumbing code, whatever, right? Because that, I think, takes precedent over our decisions. If we think something is appropriate, a variance is appropriate, but it would not be in keeping with safety regulations
But-
imposed by,
Safety trumps all.
Talk about the building code.
Right, so, but
Right.
where I was kind of going with that, right, is if they had done their due diligence, the owner of the property, and fixed their drawings, and those drawings went to the building department, and the building department said, whoa, wait a second, that
This isn't
has
the
to be,
code."
this has to be sheetrocked, well, then it all would have came back down, and we wouldn't be in a situation where now, and I'm not sure that I believe that it does have to be sheetrocked, that's not been proven to me based on what I've seen, but instead of, so the owner doesn't fix their drawings, right? They just pass them along and hope nobody ever notices, or maybe it was innocent, whatever, we'll look for the best in people. But had they corrected their drawings and the building department said, well, this is a code issue, well, then we wouldn't have a brand new structure built somewhere that potentially, quite honestly, that sheetrock may need to stay if it is code. Because I don't think we're all gonna say,
Correct.
no, you rip it all down, so that's a problem.
so, I mean, an example, like, the fire retardant materials between an attached garage and the kitchen and the bedroom above. That makes perfect sense. I don't know whether, and when I looked at the pictures of this looks finished.
It's beautiful.
And it looks finished for purposes other than
I agree.
cold storage.
See, I disagree with that. Like, I'm looking at right here.
I didn't get that.
Yeah, like,
Really?
this looks like a this looks like, and that was why the conversation with this other garage was so interesting, because I was like, oh, sure, you're not supposed to sheetrock garages. I
You
didn't
can
realize
sheetrock
that.
garages, but
If-
this
if-
is this
if you don't
storage
have-
area above.
Yeah, but I mean, there's not
It's-
that much. There's like some floorboards here. It looks like an attic kind of. And
The only
that's
thing
it.
that I would add there, Matt, is that if the plan, the grand plan all along was only to just have storage up there, why'd they throw that dormer in on that side? They dormered that side of the loft area because a desk will fit right in that dormer, looking right out their window. It's just a cost that they didn't need to do.
And maybe that's the case, but like, if for me.
It looks
I-
raw.
And if you were to say, all right, get rid of the upstairs, what do? I would say, yeah, that's totally fine. You can finish off the whole thing with sheetrock. It's just, now that they've added the upstairs, I don't know what the alternative, now dormer aside, I should think about that, but dormer aside, I don't know, you do take off, you leave this stuff exposed and then sheetrock the part that's not in the upper section, like the lower section?
That
where
was
the
the stipulation.
Yeah,
That was the
you spray foam
stipulation.
insulation,
You have
or
half and half. Well, but you can't even do insulation. So like, do you do
if
like?
it were for safety reasons, you could.
But I'm saying like, do you like keep this all open?
I
Yeah.
don't understand, like,
Even lower. The stipulation reads even lower than that. Just imagine the top of the garage door.
Like this, all of this?
Yeah,
fits?
Yeah.
that's what the
All the
stipulation
second
says.
loft level.
The
was
whole
supposed to be
second level.
Completely
That's
unfinished.
what.
and
That's
by the way,
what-
the
that's
the stairway that they put in is not the normal access to above garage storage stairway.
We had talked about this, and you had the thing
Yeah.
with the pull down and how to
Yeah,
hate
exactly,
yours. And,
exactly.
yeah.
But,
So we
and then you could put
granted them-
you put sheetrock above, you sheetrock your first floor garage area, which goes up 10 feet, but above it is raw. And that's what I thought this would happen.
For the person here though, the third applicant, we wouldn't tell them that they can't sheetrock the pitch of the roof, right?
There's no risk of them finishing a loft. That's
There's
why.
no loft in that one.
There's no loft to finish. The neighbor here is concerned about them using this space, and when we put it in that space
Right.
and allowed that, we said, you cannot make this finished space. And this is a gray line. On top of the fact that the ZEO did not support the stipulations, the builder submitted,
Well,
great
just
catch.
to cut a little slack there, is he there during construction?
No,
There's
not
inspections
necessarily. No, not
that
necessarily.
ZEO's making? I don't think so.
No, not necessarily.
So you're saying he showed up when this was all completed and was just like, oh, well.
To get a CO, for them to
But
get
you're
their
relying
CO?
on the building inspector. The building
Right, and the
inspector's
building
involved-
inspector has a set of, I don't know if we stamp plans here or not, or however the approved plans get to the, he's seeing a note on his drawings that say sheetrock everything, so he doesn't know. As far as I'm concerned, the building inspectors didn't do anything wrong.
Well, okay, and on this letter we received, it says ZEO determination. Is this written by the ZEO?
Harvey Hammond, yes.
I believe so,
Yeah,
yeah.
although ZBA requested uninsulated unfinished space with no wall, the current configuration and construction conditions of the storage loft does not provide the possibility to use a usable level of space, and hence is respectful of the ZBA's general requirements as built. So I read that.
Is he allowed to do that?
Well, basically, I read this as saying the ZEO and the building inspector both said, ZBA says unfinished, we understand that, but this is also in compliance with that. I mean,
I would
They,
I would
they said
disagree with
they made an interpretation,
Yeah.
that it was
Yes.
still unfinished.
Without talking to us.
well, I mean, that could be
Well,
something
That's not,
separate,
but that's not
but
the
like-
fault of the owner. Like, this is where I struggle, is that if they went through the process, and you have a good point about the notes and the drawings, like, that should have been corrected. But if they've gone through the process with the building inspector and reached all of the different, like, checkpoints along the way, and nothing has been flagged, that to me is like, it doesn't seem right that they've followed the right process, and then in the end, they're told, like, you were told you could keep the sheetrock for safety or for fire, and now we're telling you to take it out.
Right, but I
That
think
doesn't
that's
seem right.
important to know when was that told? I highly doubt that the Darien building inspector went there and said, why isn't this sheetrocked? It should be sheetrocked, it's good practice. I bet he went there at the end and saw the sheetrock and said,
Yes.
well, it's good practice. I think that's an important thing to understand.
John, that's a
If
great
we
point.
had an inspector direct them to do that, well, that's another
Because
issue. That becomes another issue,
Because
but I
that
don't.
trumps our safety obligations.
It could,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's important to talk to all these people and understand, like, who said sheetrock? If the builder says, well, I just followed the notes in the drawing, well, then, sorry. From there, the question is, Mr. Building Department, is it a code that this has to be sheetrocked, yes or no? He chooses his words very carefully, and I don't know if
Yeah,
that.
I agree.
He says it's good practice. He doesn't
John, you're
say
right,
it's
that's
code
good.
required. I do
That's
not
good.
think that it's code required.
But also insulation is different. Isn't there insulation behind the sheetrock?
Yes.
in
That's
this
what they
case?
said, yeah.
I don't know, I'm less concerned.
So one of Woody's
The
options on
sheetrock is the one that's big.
But it shows to me intent.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yes, fair.
Point was to make
Just like
sure
the
they don't
dormer.
use it for active, lights and noise and whatever they're gonna do.
So one option on here, which Woody, I like this, we could have the town building, number 5, we could instruct the town building inspectors involved with the project to appear at the January 15th meeting to explain their involvement with the interior construction, bring copies of the inspection reports, et cetera. Do a bit of an audit.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, they also say in the note here too that the ZEO doesn't think it's supposed to be usable livable space. Or he considers it not to be, so I'd like to hear how.
They want to get their CO. and
Oh,
they
I'd like to
wanna
hear how you
go
make that
there.
determination, though, like,
Right.
he says that, you point out, hey, there's a dormer here, you know, the neighbors are saying this,
But
like.
could that be aesthetics? Like, could they have, I mean, I didn't go back and look at the
It
external
is
drawings.
a-
It's only on one,
My-
it's only on one side.
So I don't know how he can make that.
It's only on that one side, overlooking the yard, overlooking the house is on that side, right?
The water.
Oh, well, they.
From that dormer, you can see the water there.
Well, Gary, you're an attorney. I mean, do we involve town council with this to review the guidelines? Do we need any more direction than
No,
that?
town council got involved later.
Okay,
Could be
I
later.
think bring the people in.
I think so too. I mean, we can.
And I think, we should tell
EO,
ZEO,
Hervé,
don't
Hammond.
issue any,
He's not. We stopped that.
that's not, I think that's your number 2, right, Woody?
Yeah, well, we already did
Well,
that.
Don't
Yeah, I think-
issue
I think-
any,
I think tonight's significant, whatever you guys instruct, like, do A, B, and C, or 1, 2, and 4, or none.
What?
But let me just
Yeah.
point out,
Do we do that in a public hearing format?
no.
If
you
they
don't
want
need
to be heard, we don't have to. We can decide as a board of what we want to do right now. And we
I'm
could
saying,
say,
like, do you bring the ZEO, like, is this not
Yes.
something that could,
And it's,
But Zio often shows up.
yeah,
Yeah.
he would come and speak and explain his,
and
Essentially,
it's also the building inspector too, it's not
Yeah,
just a
so-
CEO, there's
so
multiple
who-
people here.
Might-
whoever can
all,
tell us the
like, said
code. We
fine,
need
fine,
whoever
fine.
can tell us what the code is.
And bring it and show it to us. Let's read the language. What I've heard is there's a 5-foot thing if a structure's within 5 feet.
And I think the code that Maslin put in his letter has to do with attached
Attached,
garages,
that's right.
not detached garages.
Right.
And what's next to this is not the house, it's a
A
deck.
deck, right, does that count?
Let me just point out, in early November, I effectively got contacted by the contractor. We'd like to get a CO for this project, what do we need to do?
Is
Now,
that
those are-
typical, sorry to interrupt, is that typical that they would call you for a CO?
Sometimes, it depends on if it's a ZBA-approved project with
Okay.
special conditions, yeah. Otherwise, maybe not. But anyway, there was issues with grading and drainage, we had to be very careful with how they planned this project, and they had to get an engineer, put all kinds of catch basins in, and they were in the flood zone, and fill was complicated. So we had that issue to look at. But I also said, yeah, we need to come down and make an inspection and check out the interior, make sure you complied with the ZBA conditions. So I tell the contractor's office person, let's plan on a visit. I get a call back pretty quickly, why do you want to come down and look in the garage? Literally, gee, why would you do that? Well, we have conditions of approval. So we end up on November 14, we make a plan. The contractor is concerned. He says, well, I'm kind of stuck in the middle here. He knows they did things they shouldn't have done. So we stand there, and I'm like, geez, what did you do? We can't approve this as staff. We can't grant a CO because it doesn't comply with the specific conditions of the board. So you can apply and go back to the board and ask for an amendment of the plans or something else. I would suggest you call your attorney and, figure out how you can justify this. I hear nothing for almost a week, so I send an email to Bob Maslin and the builder. Hey, we need something for our December agenda. If you'd like to have the board consider this, please present your reasons. So that's why you've gotten something from Bob Maslin. In the meantime, the neighborhood heard about this. And the neighbor came into the office and she was rather upset. I didn't oppose this project in the beginning. I knew it was extremely close to my property. I didn't like the old garage, but I don't trust this circumstance. I don't believe they made a mistake here. I think this was
intent.
what are you gonna do? I don't want this. And then she was like, so I need to hire an attorney, what do I do? So I'm like, well, yeah, you're on your own, but, so I think we have a problem where we can't really protect neighbors and let something like this go, and let the community hear that, hey, owner just says, hey, go ahead and do it anyway.
No way.
And
It
building
undermines
official.
everything we're trying to do.
Building official says, well, maybe there's code that justifies it, maybe there isn't. And on top of that, when we had this November 14th meeting at the garage, the zoning enforcement officer was standing there, said nothing. A few days later, all of a sudden this decision comes out. I was flabbergasted, I don't know why that happened. But we have a circumstance where we have a definition of what finished space is in the zoning regs. That's one of the points here. Let the CEO come here and let's see what his
But isn't
justification
that
is.
moot? Because the stipulation said no finishes. It said
Correct.
no materials.
They're
It didn't-
saying
it
it's
didn't-
not finished.
It's not a question about finished versus unfinished, right? Like if we had just put in the stip unfinished second floor, then they could come in here and argue, well, look at this reg. As long as it's only one coat of tape, then it's considered unfinished. To me, that's irrelevant, totally irrelevant. It
Or if-
specifically
or if-
says no materials.
Or if council thought, and experienced council, thought our stipulation was endangering the public, he could have, after the board issued its findings, could have said, oh, the board is making a decision here that endangers the public because safety requires sheetware.
Actually, I just noticed this, that in the ZO determination, it says the finishing with sheet rock was recommended by the building department as an added fire safety measure. So that kind of answers your question about like, how, right now, I don't know why the ZO is saying that.
I want to hear the building department say that they directed them to.
Right, but that's what that
recommended
sounds like.
But here's the thing, we don't even have to listen to the building department. We can go back, we can make that builder tear out and put this back to the recommendation that we made as a
I'm not
board.
sure that that's true. If the building department says, or if there's some safety regulation,
Code.
that would trump us.
That's not what they're saying.
They're saying they recommended it as an additional fire safety measure.
But
So
I don't
you
know if
feel
it's-
like-
Building-
But I don't know,
building-
but there's a difference, I guess, between.
The building department official whose name escapes me, I forget.
Mike, I think it's Mike, isn't it?
Yeah. Used words in that letter, I don't know if he gave that quote to Maslin or what, that says, it's good practice.
That's in the
If it
top-
was code, he would have said, it is code. Like, I,
That's the building inspector, but this is the ZEO saying this.
yeah, but he doesn't,
I don't know, I have no idea where this is coming from either. That's why I was
Yeah.
wondering if this is his.
So Gary, you think the right thing to do is bring him in here and have him talk? 100%. Okay, John?
yeah,
Yep.
100%.
Shanna?
No CO.
Shanna? Yep,
No CO until then.
Whoever can speak to code,
okay.
the builder, or owner, I mean,
You're-
the
you're
builder,
gonna
I
get
really,
the neighbor-
actually don't.
You're gonna
I
get the
don't know if I
neighbor in here
can.
and her attorney.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a
It's gonna be a
whole-
shit show
it's
for the
gonna be a
record,
show,
yeah, it is.
yeah.
Don't schedule anything else.
If you don't
I
mind-
think it's also important to do this site visit
Yeah.
and take a look, right? Are there,
I'd love for
are
you
there
to
a
do it.
bunch of, oh, thanks for, I knew
Well-
I was gonna get volunteered for that one. Right, are there a bunch of extra conduits stubbed running underground from the house, from the existing
That's what somebody
house?
said something about that, right?
Well, one of the neighbors brought it up. It's their concern, right? So we should.
Yeah, the
and
neighbor
I'll
is
do.
de-
I'll go.
I
It's
think there
fine,
is a
but-
history too of this neighbor overextending the things that we, this is one of these issues I regret now. We could have made them blast and put that garage near the house, and we didn't. We made an
did.
accommodation,
We did. We accommodated.
and this
Would've
is
been
another
helpful
case
for
where it
them,
backfired.
actually. Sometimes the denial is a good thing.
I know.
This was the one
I
where
regret it.
They had the ledge and then they
Yeah.
had the block foundation.
They could put it in, but we were just like, well,
It was Voss Construction, they were like,
Yeah.
we don't know, like, it's a 100-year-old house.
it's not,
It's-
yeah, if we blast, the foundation will be rocked. Yeah, that whole argument.
That sounds reasonable, I don't know.
No, we let him get
heard
away with
that.
it.
We heard it.
We heard it and we allowed it.
Maybe-
So what do you?
I was
The shaky
skiing.
proposal.
I was gonna say, you.
It was
like,
February
we need to
vacation
do
last
this,
year.
yeah.
I remember
Okay,
this.
we need you. Show up for this. Okay.
Tell us whether or not that's.
Don't have
What
it
do
on
you feel with that?
vacation. Don't have it
Do
on
you mind going
vacation.
through, maybe go through these items
All
and see
right.
which ones you wanna?
Can I tell you which ones I think
Yes,
we should do?
go,
Yeah,
yeah.
please.
I think one is not a good idea right now. Because if it is a code issue, then
not
we've
there
got all
yet.
kinds of.
All right. We're not
there yet.
We're not
I was
there
kind of
yet.
leaning on one. No?
We're
Okay,
not.
no one. Got it.
Two is a definitive. I
Mm-hmm.
think three, look, my thing with three is the winter's coming, it's cold, it's icy. If all of a sudden we tell them they can't use their structure and somebody slips and falls, I think that's
Yeah.
fine.
Well,
Let
they haven't been using a garage for years.
well,
I don't want to hear it, right.
I don't
just
mind
don't
three.
even open us, don't even
I don't
open us
mind
up,
it.
don't even open us up. No, I'm saying don't do three.
Oh, don't do
Yeah,
three.
don't,
You,
just.
you want to make them remove it? You're
No.
saying,
I
oh,
wanna just, like, they could just keep,
okay,
just
use it. Got it. Got it. Okay.
So that makes four irrelevant. 5 is a yes.
Yep.
6 is a yes.
Yes, that's part of it. Yep.
7, I think we definitely need to do. Because this
Yep.
goes to, hey, what else is planned here?
Yep,
I'm happy to volunteer for that.
okay. I can go with
It'll have to be in January though.
Okay.
Detailed report, no later than.
Well, yeah, I just want to see it.
Yeah,
I don't care about the report, but I just
But
want to see
eight
it.
goes
Jana,
along.
you can go too.
8 goes along with
Oh,
what we,
I will
Yeah.
pass on the.
and
site
8 goes along with what
thing.
we hope to accomplish on January 15th.
And
Yep.
eight is a yes, and I
Okay.
actually think 9 is a yes, but not
I
at the
don't know.
meeting. Not at the
Not
meeting.
yet.
Not at
Yeah.
the meeting.
Okay,
That
later.
way we gives us a, well, we need to talk to town council.
Okay, Woody,
If I could
2,
have, if I
5,
could have some help from you
Yep.
tomorrow to essentially draft this, put it together.
I will.
and have
By the way,
endorsement,
this was great,
This is
thank
awesome.
you.
This is
This was
awesome.
great.
Focus it.
Nice work on you
Well,
investigating.
this one, I don't.
This one got you angry?
You're in big trouble. You do stuff like this in New York City, you get in
Well, the issue,
humongous trouble.
what Woody and I talked about is that you don't
pass these
want
down.
the ZEO overruling what we have decided. There's a good reason why we deliberated.
Oh, these are just the letters.
These are Wilder's letters that he wanted to
Ah,
make sure you guys
that's
had.
you.
We
Okay,
scanned
Gary.
them and-
This
You
is the
don't
one we
have
got
one.
emailed, right?
John doesn't even have one in here.
I read it. It's.
Okay,
Thank
all
you,
right.
Wilder.
This is from the,
Doing it the
it's probably from the
old-fashioned way.
February, it's probably whoever. was
We want to make sure it's on the record.
Yeah.
All right,
It's
so,
important for the future here.
okay,
Not
so
just- not
are
just
we,
this project.
are we concluded on this issue? We're gonna, Woody, you're gonna tell them to make an appearance at the,
Yeah, I'm gonna need your help.
Let's make them- I'll do
Draft
that
up
tomorrow with
the
you.
2 through 8 or whatever it is here, and
so
We
do you
need
want
to
me
make
send it
sure
to
that
them?
people can be there before we, because we don't want to have to talk about it multiple times, right?
Right.
January 15th is
Tell
coming
them
up
that's-
quickly.
Well, that's a public hearing.
Well,
If
we
they,
made
whoever
the
can be there.
concession this week that they were away.
they
For
weren't
this
ready
month,
this week,
if they
right.
want it resolved, they gotta come to January
and
or
it
we.
helped us to get organized here too, so.
Do I need to make a motion to move forward with this, or you and I are just gonna
That would
hammer
be
it out
good,
for
yeah,
the?
that would be good.
Okay,
Motion to proceed with 2,
a motion to
5, 6,
proceed
7,
with the
8.
3 Edge Hill Drive options that Woody's dated December 18th. We're gonna go with, do you want the numbers?
2, 5,
2?
6, 7,
Yep.
8.
That's it. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jana, all in favor of that? Okay, I like that. A couple more, quick, let's, okay.
Are all you guys available on the 15th?
I am.
January?
I wouldn't miss it. This is scandalous.
I might
Oh,
get
do I have a motion to approve the minutes from October 23rd? It was John, Jana, Kevin, Matt. Jana makes a motion,
A second.
Matt seconds, all in favor? Yep, that's, what do you got, 5-0 on that
No.
approval?
4, maybe.
4, because Gary wasn't here.
November I'm not done with, very complicated with
No, okay.
Sedgwick and Giovanni's. and-
Town attorney to review case law, what are we doing about that?
You
That
know,
was
that's
you.
what I want,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll pull up some examples, but I really think that we should educate ourselves.
I'd like
better
that.
And applicants in the current state of the law.
We also have a
How
continued.
about number 1, the
I'm
extension?
sorry, did I
of,
pass that? Oh, okay, let's vote on that. The 6 months, is there any reason not to grant this, Woody? Is this the second
I don't
extension?
think so, this is extremely complicated, this project. so,
To Meadowbrook?
Yeah.
Okay, I approve that, a 6-month extension. Do I have a second?
Somebody make a
Me,
motion.
whatever.
Jerry, yep,
Fine.
all in favor of that. There's some CE requirements, Woody. I got a note about that. Everybody here on the board needs to take that?
Oh, the training thing? you mean?
Yes.
No, I think they're all covered for now, but by the end of 2025, you'd have to do some more hours.
Okay, I can send it
So
out
if
to
you
you
did
guys.
this, I think it's in March.
I did it last.
I did last year
Yeah.
with, yeah.
But if you
Jenny, you
did
may
it,
not
those-
have.
Those ones are,
They're really boring. You have to do like 5
it's not
hours.
that, there are some characters on it.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, that's good. It's an online thing. so
Once we
it's
go,
fairly easy.
once we go off, I gotta
oh
consider
my
that.
God. Okay, what about a party date? Do you have a party date in
Want to do
mind?
something in January, like after the 15th?
Yeah, let's do it after the 15th.
Maybe like the 22nd.
Yeah, you guys want to do like a Wednesday dinner, the 22nd?
That works for me.
Okay, I like it.
That's good,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
gotta
lastly,
get-
any other
we gotta
business? Is there
get
anything
Jeff
else that
there.
we're missing? Minimum?
That's our
No, I think we're good.
We're good? All right, I'm gonna call it.
That's our
9:17, we are adjourned.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to, yep, got a second?
Approved.
All in favor of adjournment?
Fifteenth,
Aye.
party on the 15th,
Thank you.
we do the
Nice work.
meeting.